So here we go, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Kings of Anglia Fan Social. Of course, Kings of Anglia is proudly sponsored by Ginger Pickle and Manscaped. Of course, this is the show where the KOA Army share their thoughts on all things town. And this week, I'm joined by Bloomers and good old Liam from Crewe as we discuss the last few weeks, the last few months, and it's same old Ipswich Town. We get our hopes up and then we go crashing back down. We're still fourth in League One. But it's been a frustrating few weeks, hasn't it, Town fans? Strap yourself in. We won't try to make this too doom and gloom, but we're just going to talk about what's been going wrong the last few months. Bloomers, welcome back to the show, my friend. Always a pleasure. You're a man recovering from an ACL surgery. How has that been? And how did that sort of come about? / well done for going to Cambridge away and being at Portland Road a few times as well with crutches.
Yeah, I don't recommend doing that though, to be perfectly honest. I got turned off from my physiotherapist today, but I tore my ACL in September playing five-a-side, and I can attest to any footballer now that it's probably the worst thing in the world. So don't do it, guys, or at least just look after your body and don't pretend you're 18 when you're not anymore, which is my mistake. But it's all right, it's healing up. I'm in a bit of a foul mood though. Anyways, I was just speaking before this because my desk has decided to collapse, and we're currently got this computer propped up on a bit of plywood and some strings. So if this cuts off halfway through, you'll now know why. So yeah, a nice foul mood for what's going to be a somber podcast for the most of it. So it should be entertaining at least. So yeah, stay tuned for that.
Indeed, yeah. We'll wait and see if out of nowhere Bloomers just goes crashing down because his desk just collapsed. So we'll bring into that. Liam from Crewe, always a pleasure, my friend. How's things? Yeah.
Not too bad, Ross. Yeah, pretty good. I have to say my knees feel a little bit achy this morning after five-a-side last night with us and running the night before. As Bloomers says, I'm not as young as I used to be, so I need to look after myself a little bit. And
my heart bleeds for you that you played five-a-side last night. We're currently looking at October for me, so 6 months to go.
I'm looking forward to that return. It's going to be a good return, I'm sure.
Yeah,
well, let's just get right into them, boys and girls. Let's not muck about. Hopefully, this isn't going to be too of a depressing listen. Of course, the boys, Andy and Heafy, did a great show for the main pod, but it's an opportunity now for the KOA Army to share their thoughts. Bloomers, sort of opening lines from yourself. Just looking back at the last few months, it's not been great in terms of performances, points. We're now fourth. A lot of points now from the top two. Where are you at? And what's your main sort of takeaway, first of all?
It's funny because you give us the show notes in advance and you sit there thinking about what you're going to say, and then it comes to the time and you don't know how to sum up the last 3 or 4 months because it's depressingly familiar with unfamiliar players and surroundings. You can have no fans, you can have some fans, or in the case of this season, you can have all fans, and yet the 4 seasons we've had in League One have all followed the same pattern. 3 full seasons have been good starts, rough middles, and then petering out at the end. And it's happening again, even though it should be different, but it's not. And we're going to get on to why we think that may or may not be. And there's so much you can kind of go across as to reasons why, and we'll let you, Ross, sort of take the lead on different categories of that. But the bottom line is we're not winning enough games. And we're not winning enough games because not only are we not beating the sides around us, we're not beating the sides we should be beating either. So it's not a very good combination for getting out of this league, is it? I know that there's 2 teams at the moment who are averaging well over 2 points a game, and I think that they're on track for 99 points. So it's an outlier season anyway. But the idea that we couldn't compete with them just wasn't true back in September, October, when we gave ourselves that incredible position. And we squandered it. You use stronger terms than that if you want, but yeah, it's been a complete and utter chucking away, and there's myriad of reasons for that, and we'll get into that. But the crux of it is the players haven't been good enough. The style of play hasn't been good enough with no plan B. The manager hasn't been good enough. The only thing that has been good enough is the fans, and even then, some people on Twitter don't think the fans have been good enough. So whatever life raft you've got to cling on to, is swimming away from you, pretty much. Liam, you're someone who's probably never seen Portman Road as full as it has been this season. Is it fair to say? On a consistent basis. Where do you stand on all of this?
Well, it's been typical Ipswich in the time that I've been around the club. Really, it's not fallen off a cliff. It's just this slow, kind of painful death almost. It's too many draws. That's the thing. It's not like we've lost a load of games and we're suddenly gone flying down the table and we can't find a win anywhere. We throw in the odd win here and there, but just too many draws. And at the end of the day, if you think about it, I mean, a draw isn't a defeat, but it's not useful. Like you win one game, and that would be you pick up the same amount of points as you would if you'd drawn 3 games. So it doesn't really help you in any way, shape, or form, and that's been our biggest problem. Frankly, from the fans' point of view, I don't think it's been that bad, to be honest. I think the fans have been fairly strong in their backing. There have been moments at Portman Road, I think, where maybe things have gone a bit flat. And like the weekend against Sheffield Wednesday, I mean, I said to someone next to me when we went 2-0 down, well, this is the Town players now kind of realising the downsides of having 29,000 inside a stadium. Because literally from that moment on, it was pretty much the atmosphere went completely the opposite way, from being supportive to suddenly it was all out abuse a lot of the time, frustration, and as soon as that happened, if we hadn't got that free kick before half time, we wouldn't have been getting anywhere near a point in that game. Literally, the fans had gone at that stage, and there was nothing really to lift the crowd, which you kind of then get people saying, well, the crowd should be lifting the players, but it's as
right. This is it. Like, if you're not sure what Liam was alluding to at the start of what you said, there's been a few murmurings on Twitter about fans not being good enough or whatever. But at the end of the day, I'm not sure, how can fans be blamed at the moment? How can Ipswich Town fans be blamed for not being happy? What in the last 14 games they've been to be happy about? Is it 2 wins in 14?
4.
4. Sorry, 4. Apologies. 4 wins in 14. And yes, there's not been a lot of losses in that time. But look at the position we were in, and there's so much of things that's a combination of all of it. I'll just spout out some now because I realise I'm not actually delving into them. There's no plan B. Plan A has been plan A for the whole season. Even going back to, and I've said it every single time on this podcast, that Cambridge home game, where I think we scored after about 65 minutes. 99 times before the first goal, we played the exact same style of getting the ball into the box from out wide, hoping that someone was going to, get the final touch. The 100th time we did it, it worked. And okay, great. You found out the last of these 14 games, it doesn't always happen. And teams have sussed us out. They just put a low block on, and it's literally like putting a stick in some bicycle spokes, and then watching the people up top just go straight over the handlebars, and then not being able to get back on the bike because they don't know what to do because they're now in uncharted territory. I don't understand. I can understand playing the way that we're playing as a plan A because, well, I mean, look at all the underlying stats, maybe not the last 4 or 5 games. The underlying stats show that it should be effective, and it is, or has been, certainly in the last few months. So in the first few months. But you've got to have, in League One, a plan B. I don't see how you can not realise that now. And I'm talking about the management here because we have a young manager who's clearly set in his ethos, and it's a very good and positive ethos, but it's looking like teams are figuring this out. And because of that, points getting dropped left, right, and centre, and it's now getting to the stage where maybe, the second half of the Sheffield Wednesday game was good. You look at the first half of the Sheffield Wednesday game and the entirety of Tuesday night against Bristol Rovers, it's now not good enough to win, and you don't deserve to be winning. So you've literally gone from playing well, winning, getting points, and the stats proving you right, to being unlucky because the stats not proving you right, to not playing well and getting what you deserve, which is not a win. So,
You know what it is?
What is it, Liam?
It's tempo. It's tempo. A lot of it is tempo. The way that Ipswich play football is
So slow.
admirable.
Sorry, Karen. Sorry,
I mean, it is admirable. And I've said this before. There's a higher ceiling. If you look at Sheffield Wednesday from last weekend, they will get promoted, but I think they will probably end up being a lower mid-table championship side, maybe battling above the drop with the way that they play football. They're very physical. They do have good footballers, don't get me wrong, but their game is a lot more direct. Whereas the way Town play football, as we've seen against Burnley, it is effective against better teams in a better football environment. I've said it's Town's biggest challenge is getting out of this division because of the fact that the teams that we're playing, a lot of them are not going to try and challenge Town, and it's offering Ipswich a completely different issue because we can't break teams down. But you look at that game against Morecambe, first half, against a team who would have come, and now they were dreadful, but they would have, if they had hung on for the first 10 minutes, they would have done exactly what every other team in the bottom half of League One does and comes to Portman Road, and they would put all men behind the ball and make it really difficult and stodgy. And Town, for that first half, were absolutely unstoppable. I mean, they ripped Morecambe apart. They were helped by Morecambe being really abject, but they started on the front foot. That Cambridge game, we didn't have a single shot in the first half. And the passing for that first half an hour was just all in front, nothing in behind. And when you're going away to some of these places where the pitches are going to be tighter and our natural pace down the flanks are going to be less effective, you've got to find different ways to try and win the game. But knocking it around and just keeping the ball for possession's sake is not going to win you games of football.
Yeah, here's another point then. Here's another reason. Crap mentality from the players, which feeds into the fans. But like, you're talking about games like that. We had a game like that at the start of the season, an exact similar game away at Burton. And I was there for that game on a Tuesday night. We played, at that point, the worst points we played all season. And because we had the mentality at the time, we dug out a 1-0 win when it was probably undeserved. We had the mentality to get those, grind out those points. Since, well, I know what game it's been since, and we might touch on that in a minute. But since the October 31st, the mentality is just gone. There's no, the belief now is, and again, if your players, I'm sure they're not listening to this, but if you're an issue player listening to this, prove me wrong, you'll turn up to these games like Bristol Rovers and Cambridge. Oh yeah, we'll win. We've got enough on the plan A. We've got enough in the locker. We'll win. And you don't, because teams put the low block on. You've got to show some creativity or show something, and it's just nothing. And if you're being coached that way by Kieran McKenna and you've got this set plan A, that explains some of it. But also, that doesn't matter what you are or who you are. Like, if you think you've got that mentality to, we'll turn up and rock it, well, you've got to prove it then. And you're not. You're not proving it at all. It's all well and good scoring after minute 1 at home to Morecambe and then beating them 4 or 5-0. That's just a sign of a flat track bully. Flat track bullies don't get out of League One, don't get into the Championship. Teams that are actual bullies are ones that will dig in, not play well, and get a result. And we just don't do that. I saw the most damning fact ever. Aside from the Portsmouth game, when we went 3-0 in the 80th minute, an 80th minute winner, the last time we got a goal or later than that goal to win a game was against I think it was Morecambe, might have been Accrington. Chilena scored in the 90th minute in October 2021. That's 16, 17 months ago.
Fleetwood at home.
It was Fleetwood. I couldn't remember. I knew it was a team that played in red. Yeah. Chilena scored the winner in the 90th minute. It just goes to show, if this team goes a goal down, or gets pegged back or drawing going into the closing stages.
Well, we were 4-2 up against Charlton, and then we know the rest.
This is the game that I touched on. So, Liam, question for you: because at the time we all sort of derided it as an absolute freak of nature, which it is by all accounts. Do you think it's really damaged us that much, that game?
It shouldn't. It shouldn't have. I mean, look.
Oh, no, but that's not what I said. I said, do you think it has?
Well, the evidence is hard to kind of argue against, isn't it? Really. I mean, the thing I've got is that you look at that Sheffield Wednesday game on Saturday, and didn't play well first half. Managed to drag ourselves back into it just before half time, get an early equaliser. Then we were on top for 40 minutes, where Sheffield Wednesday sat in and said, right, we're happy with a point. Where was the belief, though, from that? I didn't really have any belief in that second half after the first 10 minutes after we got the equaliser, where I thought we would get a winner. We just didn't look like we had any ideas or any kind of way of... And I think that's a big issue. There's a bit of a lack of belief.
The thing is, I'll almost give a pass for that second half, in that you're playing top of the league. I think Wednesday managed to get their heads a little bit together after the equaliser and sort of nullified the game. But what I won't give passes for is games like Cambridge and Bristol Rovers.
Yeah, and that's that. And
it's not good enough in any
those sort of
nature.
Games that are costing us. It's not going to be the games against the top sides. Yes, okay, our record against the top sides isn't brilliant either. I mean, we've now not won a single game against the top two, and we've now got Bolton, Barnsley and Derby to come next month, and well, we've only beaten Derby, so we've not got.
That was a Derby team in transition, and. Yeah. You know, it was a 1-0. Okay, could have been 2 with the penalty. It wasn't exactly like a steamrolling win or even a good performance, really.
But that was the thing, though. We beat Derby. We ground it out. We got the result when we needed it. But we haven't been doing that. We haven't been doing that at all lately. And this is the thing, right? Football is a simple game. It's been made so much more complicated in the modern era by these types of tactics, this, that, and the other. But at the end of the day, it's a simple game. You score more than your opposition, you win the game. So for Ipswich Town, when they play these teams that come to Portman Road, or incidentally, when Ipswich go to these teams and they sit back, why do they not try something different, like having a shot? You've looked at Fleetwood, right? And you've looked at Plymouth. They've come to Portman Road and they've got last-minute equalisers from shots that they've taken, and they've got a slight deflection on them, and they've gone in, and they've got the luck. They've taken that luck.
Look at how our second goal was scored on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Outside
free kick though.
Well, still a shot.
True, but it's there and it's placed down. You know, players need to run with the ball and then out of nowhere. Like Sam Morsey's not doing those runs anymore, is he?
He could have done.
True.
You've got teams that are sitting on top of each other. Why not have a little bit of a go outside the box? And if it takes a deflection and causes all sorts of carnage, then if the luck's on your side, it'll fall for you. But you're not going to win the lottery if you don't buy a ticket. So
it's ironic you say football's simple but necessarily made complicated. My life was simple and it's been necessarily complicated by football. Right, well, we're talking about style of play. Let's put our cards on the table now. I assume none of us want Kieran Cannon to be sacked. Didn't think so. No, right, didn't think so.
It's a ludicrous thing.
But we all agree that 4 wins out of 14 is not good enough. Whether you're Paul Cook, Paul Hurst, Paul Lambert, anyone, 4 wins out of 4. 4 wins out of 14 is not good enough in the Championship, let alone League One. I reckon half of the flack he's getting is justified, probably more than that. At what point do the owners, and this, no conspiracy theories here, if we don't win any of our next 4 games, because because we've always said these next 5 are winnable, right? These next 5 games
should be.
are
They have to be. The next 4 have to be.
What if we don't win any of our next 4? Does he get sacked?
I don't think he does, but because there's still time, and you could still necessarily say, well, he might pull it out of the bag against the better sides, but you wouldn't put your money on it.
Sunderland were in a similar position to this last season. They sacked Lee Johnson, brought in Alex Neil, and I knew it wasn't Tony Mowbray, but my mind blanked. Brought in Alex Neil, and it was enough to get them over the line. I mean, Watford have made a habit of doing it every bloody year. There is precedent for this. The only precedent you probably would have is that you've clearly gone for an approach with a young manager and put a lot of stock into this process. I think it would be suicide to change it now. But then I also don't see how he'd continue if we don't win any of our next 4. I know it's really unlikely we don't win one of the next 4, but we'll get onto it later. Anyone's thinking that Ipswich are backable at 2-7 at home to Forest Green clearly hasn't watched us over the last few weeks, because as soon as the goal isn't going after the first 20 minutes, it ain't going to be a good atmosphere if that happens.
I mean,
carry on, Liam.
I mean, the thing with Kieran McKenna is I wouldn't want him to get sacked. But he has made mistakes, and he's not infallible to criticism. Criticism needs to be fair if it's warranted, and there is criticism there. I mean, I think a lot of people would go back to what Bloomer said quite a way at the start about this plan B. He just like for like changes. There's no kind of change trying to change the game. It's just let's change the personnel and see if that works. The only time he's done it was Cambridge away, where he then brought Hurst on to play alongside Ladapo, and they went 2 up front. But that was it. That was the only time that they've done that. Every other time there has been the changes he's made has been like for like. And I mean, yes, okay, maybe a bit of individual brilliance, but at the end of the day, if the plan wasn't working to begin with, and you're not really making any changes other than bringing someone slightly different on, then it's a massive risk in terms of then getting that result. Because really, if your players then aren't really the players who come on don't really make much of a difference, then it's just going to end up the same as it has been for the rest of the game with the players who started. And that's where I think one of the biggest issues comes in about McKenna, and whether there needs to be a bit more. I've said this before. You look at the Plymouth game, and Stephen Schumacher changed the Plymouth setup to play differently against Ipswich, and it took Ipswich a good 15-20 minutes to kind of get their foot into the game and actually realise what was going on and kind of settle from Plymouth changing their usual game plan. And then Stephen Schumacher tried to play the same mind games with Moore when they played Sheffield Wednesday, and saying, oh, Wednesday are predictable, we know what they're going to do. And they changed it up slightly, and they ended up beating Plymouth. And that was the 2 best sides in this division who have, in big matches, decided to change things up from what they normally do, spring a bit of a surprise, and it did cause problems to begin with. We don't do that. We know, everyone knows how we're set up. Everyone knows how we want to play. And effectively, as Bloomer says, if you get over the first 10, 15 minutes, at the moment for a lot of teams, that's the game plan 1, because we just don't seem to be able to find any kind of, I don't know, it's anything to try and break a team down later in the game.
The last thing from me on this is I don't want. I'm sure no one that's not an Ipswich fan is listening to this, but I don't want this to be seen like we should beat teams like X. We should beat teams like Morecambe. I don't mean it in a disparaging way to any other League One team. I'm just looking at the fact that this squad, this wage budget, this expectation leads to more wins than we're getting. Pure and simple as that. And yeah, it's not happening. Time is running out, and there's a finite time now, a period of time now for us to secure our playoff position. At the end of the day, that's what Plan A is right now, and see where it leads us. And we could be sitting here in May looking at a playoff preview, and I don't think my heart can take it. But I think my heart is resigned to us getting promoted. That's the only way it's going to happen if it does, and if it doesn't, that's a failure. By the way, if we get promoted this season, it's a failure. I don't want to hear any guff about. Kieran McKenna's a young manager in his first full season. Fully aware of that. He's been brought in to get promotion this season, and if he doesn't, it's a failure. Whether you want him sacked or whatever, that's up to you. You can't sit here and say it's not a failure if we don't get promoted this season.
Okay, fair point to say. I want to quickly bring up, guys. This is one thing I always get frustrated with. It's the letter R. I'm going to bring up rotation.
Relegation. And I was like, things like
yeah, I was going to say that.
Bloody hell, boys. Not that bad. That bad. There's definitely 12 to 15 poorer teams than us. But no, rotation. We had this under Lambert. Of course, he decided goalkeepers to rotate, but we're seeing that a lot. Just your thoughts on that? I always like to sort of bring that into the mix because he has done that a lot. He's done a lot of changes here and there. Ladapo, we hadn't seen him start like 5 games in a row. Thoughts on that? Who wants to take that?
I think to begin with, it was fine, but I think it's now becoming a bit of a problem, like it was under Lambert, where they're just suddenly starting to make changes for change's sake, rather than just go out with your best team. And there's 5 subs now. I mean, there's no excuse to kind of keep changing the team around. And it doesn't help making relationships, does it? Especially in the most key area, which is at the back. I know he's trying to keep people happy, but let's get that defence sorted out. Who are your 2 best centre halves? Choose them and stick with them. Don't start mucking around. I know there has been a few injuries recently, and I think Edmondson was injured Tuesday night, wasn't he? So he wasn't picked. And maybe now and again you'll make a change. Like I understood why Burgess came in on Saturday, because Sheffield Wednesday are quite a physical, tall team. So I understand that. But the front 4 especially, that's where he seems to tinker the most. Let's change the front 4 out. But I mean, I don't know what Bloomers thinks, but for me, Ladapo has to start games, because for me, he doesn't seem to have that same effect coming off the bench. I don't think he's a particularly great impact player.
This is a case of like it almost feels like throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks when you're going on a massive run of poor performances and barely any wins, is that you rotate to try and get a spark going. But by doing that, you don't instill any confidence in the players, because they could get hooked at any point. And you made a further of your own back by, and again, completely get why this is me looking at it on a negative side. You can look at it a different way, but you bring in 2, forwards, or people like Hurst and Broadhead to challenge Ladapo. But then you've got Ladapo who's thinking, oh, hang on a minute, I'm a top goal scorer. I've got 13, 14 goals this season in all competitions. Why should I be dropped? All right, fine, start him. Then you'll have Hurst or Broadhead being like, hang on a minute, I just come to this side in January and I can't get a start. What's going on? You can't keep everyone happy. And it's just it's a rod made for your own back. And there's no way of, the only way of getting that situation better is by winning some bloody games. It's curse of Football Manager. Just nothing. It's just like a massive tailspin and a massive nosedive. And look, I'm not a football manager. This is why I don't get paid however much Kieran McKenna's getting paid. And by the way, it'll be a pretty penny to turn this round. This is the first major. You know, I don't suppose you can call it a major crisis if you're sitting 4th in the league, but it feels like a major crisis. And it's certainly the first big test of his fledgling career. And I do feel like, well, you have to support him to some extent, but you can also easily criticised because it's very easy to do that when there's been 4 wins in 14 games. It's going to be so interesting to see how this ends up. And I just pray for a good outcome. But 25 years of supporting Ipswich doesn't allow you to think of things.
Or, you know what, boys? It's a wounded fan base, really, isn't it? You know, repeated false dawn, disappointment. The last, well, probably since we've been alive bloomers as Town fans, a lot of false dawns. And for me, it is now time for Town, the players, to lift the fans. We've turned up in our masses, home and away. It's now time for this team to, of course, a lot of pressure. A lot of money's been spent on this squad. Even the staff, the amount of staff we bring to football games. They fly to Manchester for Burnley away, Bristol, and they've got all these swanky stuff. But one question for you, Liam. It's probably a stupid question, but was it always a big ask for Town to transform into a top 2 side after just one season after finishing 11th last year? Probably a stupid question, but a lot of money's been spent, so actually no.
I mean, yeah. I mean, if you look at it right now, you can say that if we do finish in the playoffs, and hopefully that will end up being the case, and that we don't continue this run and slip out, then you have to say, yeah, okay, it has been a massive leap forward. But then, as Bloomers has said earlier, the expectation is so much higher now because of the money that's spent. The players there, they're good enough for top 2. Majority of this squad, I would say they should have been good enough to be competitive in the top 2. And I know Plymouth have had an amazing season, and they're trying to stay strong. And I mean, be amazing if they manage to hold off some of the teams who are coming through like trains below them, like Bolton and Derby have fallen off a bit now. But and Sheffield Wednesday, we always knew, I think they were always going to be up there. But Town should have been involved. Well, they should be involved, and we were involved. But what's happened since? I mean, it's hard to put your finger. It really is hard to put your finger on why they've only won 4 of 15 games.
Well, we've just spent half an hour doing it. We're trying to do it.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it is a multitude of factors. It really is.
Look, like finishing in the playoffs would be an improvement on last season. Yes, it would. It's the bare minimum. Like it's beyond the bare minimum of what you'd expect with all the money being spent. It's the bare minimum you'd expect. Mm-hmm. So people go and like saying, "Oh, in the 90s it took us four playoff campaigns on the trot to get." It's like modern football doesn't work. Like it's all well and good, like harking back to Burley or Robson. Some people, I mean, whatever. It's all well and good harking back, but modern football doesn't work like that. And there's no reason. Oh, people go, "Oh, Man City took ages. They're spending for them on a league title." We're not trying to win the Premier League. We're trying to get out of pissing League One. And you look at teams like Wigan, who with 1 year of investment got themselves promoted. You look at teams like Bolton, where they were languishing in League Two, in the bottom half of League Two. Ian Evatt came in, got them up to League Two. It can be done. And people go, it's so like traditionally Ipswich to accept mediocrity sometimes because we've been given crap sandwiches for 25 years. It shouldn't be seen as a bad thing to expect a bit more than what we're getting right now. I understand modern football's fickle, and I understand you can go way too far the other end, and the manager needs sacking every game or whatever. But you're allowed to have expectations when you're in League One for the first time in 50, 60 years, which should have been a 1 or 2 season tops thing, and is now spinning into a Sheffield United scenario where it's 4, 5, 6 years. That's not good enough. And too many people are going to sit there and accept it, and they shouldn't. And I know
the scary thing is without the investment, without the takeover, I don't even think we'd be even talking about playoffs, to be honest. And we would still be here.
Everyone can say, "Oh, this and that and whatever else," but like
The expectations is higher now, and we should expect the players are far better than what they've delivered in the last 15 games.
Well, it's not for them to prove that.
Well,
We've
yeah.
said 4 years in a row this squad should walk League One. Well, we've said that 4 years in a row, by the way. I'm not you, well, you might have done, Liam, I don't know. But like people have said this team is good enough to walk League One. Well, clearly it wasn't true the first, second, third seasons because we're still here. So why is it true this time? Prove it, players. Prove it.
Yeah, I think
get angry at us. Get angry at yourself. Prove it.
I mean, we talked about McKenna.
I mean that just as a general thing.
We talked about McKenna, but I think the players need to step it up. I think it's not
totally agree.
that they've been disappointing and flat. I mean, a lot of people have spoken about Wes Burns, and maybe this is Wes Burns showing what Wes Burns actually is. He is a League One player. We bought him from Fleetwood.
What have I missed about Wes Burns?
Nothing. I don't think there's nothing there. But yeah, I'm the same with that. There's a few players that are just not. Once again, they're paid really well, big fees. I think, Nathan Broadhead and those sort of players who just come in January, they've still got time to bed in. Nathan Broadhead, he sounds like he's not fully fit yet. But I think he's going to be a player, I think he's one of those players who could score from outside the box, by the way, boys. He scored a free kick, but I think he's going to add that something different there. But there's a few that really need to...
Senior leadership pick up. Luke Chambers isn't here anymore. Cole Skuse isn't here anymore. That old guard have gone now. It's always 2 years has been a complete. I think there's no player that's been here for more than 2 years other than Jackson and Donatian off the top of my head that I can think of. Wolfenden. So Wolfenden, Morsey, like this. You're not 18. Wolfenden's not 17 anymore. He's not Titus Brown in 97. Like you're not. Get some balls. Pick yourself up and be counted. Sam Morsey, you gave a nice speech on Wednesday morning on Twitter. Right, Saturday, Forest Green Rovers. Everyone and their mother expects you to win. Go and win. Go and put in a good performance. You've done it against Morecambe. No one's going to sit there and be like, oh, I told you Morsey was good. Like, oh, I'm annoyed Morsey played well. No one's going to say that. Go out and play well and win and do it convincingly. Walton, people have been deriding you, including me especially. Anymore. Go and be assured and want the sticks. Show what you can do. Show why everyone thought you were the best keeper in League One until Plymouth's goalkeeper, whose name is
Cooper. Michael Cooper.
Lev Yashin. Like, show what you can do. Show that you deserve to be called one of the promotion contenders. Because right now, over the last 14 games, you've shown that you should be average League One players and you're getting paid a damn sight more than that.
And it frustrates me. Some of the people.
Well, actually, don't get me in the dressing room. I'll get super libel.
But it frustrates me.
Convey this to people.
Yeah,
it frustrates me because you hear players in the press saying we still believe and we have. Well, show that you believe.
Yeah, prove it.
Do the talking on the pitch. At the moment, we're just getting the same every week, and teams are finding it out.
Proper mentality from player, like you can see it week in, week out. You just don't see it at Portman Road. Players like Rashford and Saka after the Euros could have just curled up into a ball and died. Currently, two of the best players in the Premier League. And there'll be examples of that littered throughout the leagues, not just the Premier League. It's just the two players that came to mind to start with. I've just seen Rashford put in an absolute stormer at the Camp Nou before this podcast. Like, show why you have been touted as a good player to come and play for us and get us out of this division. Which, by the way, this club hasn't seen a promotion this millennium. All you've got to do is play to your level, get out of League One, and you'll be heroes for the rest of your career. Yeah. And that's pathetic for Ipswich, but it's so true. Any team of ours that gets us up, if it ever happens, touch wood, when it happens, they're going to be talked about in the same breath as the players in 2000, in 2001, in 1992. They didn't deserve to be, probably, because it's just League One, but it will mean so much. We have done, as fans, 99% of things that have been asked of us. The club behind the scenes and owners have done everything they could possibly do with facilities upgrades, with modern forward-thinking plans, with an appointment that is modern and forward-thinking. Whether it's right or not, we'll find out. the players, it's just play to your ability. And right now, it's not happening. And that's the most frustrating thing of all.
Definitely. Well, boys, I think we should park it here. We've got to talk about the running. Of course, we've got to talk about Forest Green this weekend. Bloomers, you mentioned balls a minute ago. So it's best possible. I'm not talking about get your balls out, but let's talk about Manscaped. Manscaped. Use the code KOA to get 20% off.
You want me to talk about it? Am I doing the ad plug?
No, I'm just sort of saying. Manscaped sponsors the podcast. You mentioned balls, and you get 20% off on checkout and free delivery. So if you want to, shave your crown jewels and all that, look sharp.
Great segue.
There we go. I don't know if balls will include Ginger Pickle, but if you want your marketing needs of Ginger Pickle, they're the goats for marketing. So there we go. Well, boys, let's get on to the strike. An opportunity for us to have a little bit of a breather, for the listeners to have a bit of a breather. If you're doing your dog walk or whatever, a chance now for Bloomers and Liam to go head to head on the strike. We've got 4 questions.
Yeah, this will be a speed round. This will be a speed round. I'm looking at the clock in the top left. Speed round.
It's fine. It's fine. I did say let's keep this to a nice hour, but if it goes over an hour, it goes over an hour. There's a lot to talk about. But question 1 though is on Carl Edwards, who, where's he been at? Eh? I know he came off the bench at Bristol, but a lot of people think should he started or anyway. Do you know his shirt number though, boys? Is it 23, 26, or 29?
Yeah.
His birthday is on Friday. That's why his question has come up for Carl Edwards.
I have no pen on paper, so I'm just going to say these out loud.
It's fine. Let me just double check his age on Friday. He will be 25 years age. There we go.
For fairness, I'll say out loud my answer before Liam shows it, so there's no accusations of
true.
Fair play. I'm going to go 26.
Liam?
Okay, I've gone 29, if you can see that.
Yes, I can see that.
Yeah,
I rubbed out. It is 29. So Liam has got the point. There we go. From one winger to another. Is he a winger? Somewhat. Lee Martin.
Oh, definitely a winger.
Yeah.
Not a very good one, but he was.
Very good one. Yeah, not very good. Now, how many goals did he score for Town in 105 games? Just going to quickly remove the answer while I hear the question for the viewers. Of course, if you're listening, you can't see, but I actually put the answer in the question there. But 105 games, how many goals did he score? Of course, closest to the correct answer gets the points. If you get it bang on, get 2 points. So, Bloomers, chance for you to take the lead if you get it bang on.
Right. I'll wait for Liam to finish his writing.
Okay.
Done?
Yeah.
Right. I'll be amazed if it's more than this. So I'm going to go 19.
19. Okay.
Well, I've gone off the back that he was rubbish. So I've gone 5.
And you know what? Liam is the closest. He's actually only 6 goals.
Really?
So Liam was 1 off there to get double the points. But 6 goals, 105 games.
Wow.
Great. I think he did. To be fair to him, I think he did come off the bench a lot. But for the fee we paid for him, it's not a very good return.
Don't make excuses.
Yeah, don't.
I'm just double checking actually how many substitution appearances. Actually,
I was there for one of them.
Yeah,
I think I was there for one of them. I think he scored an absolute screamer against Birmingham away.
I think that could be his first goal for the club.
Hell of a goal.
I
don't know where it came from, and we lost that game in the 90th minute. But
okay.
I think if that's the game I'm thinking of, but yeah. God,
yeah, he's still playing, by the way. He's still having a kick about. He's playing for Dover in the National League South. Of course, Dover have got a lot of problems, but we won't get into that. Another player that is still playing at the age of 41 is David Norris.
Oh, I think it was like Carlos then.
No, he's still kicking about. But David Norris, though. But for which club in the Northern Premier League? Bamber Bridge, Lancaster City, or Radcliffe? So still 41, still playing. I think he scored an absolute screw. I don't know if he scored. It was a good goal the other week.
Right.
Say that again, sorry?
I'm going to go Lancaster City.
Lancaster City?
I've gone Radcliffe.
Radcliffe.
If you can see that. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, we trust you. The correct answer is Lancaster City. So Bloomers has got a point. So it is 2-1 going to the final question. And there's no, it's a multiple choice this time. So Blues, you have to get it right. Liam has to get it wrong for you to go to a tiebreaker. The final question is on good old Darren Bent. What is his middle name then, boys? Middle names always come up, of course, on the strike. Is it Ashley, Jordan, or Luke? So think about it in your head. Darren, Ashley, Bent, Darren, Jordan, Bent, or Darren, Luke, Bent. Good old Darren. Of course, all these birthdays link up from this month. So David Norris will be having his birthday. Darren Bent will be having his birthday. Lee Martin will be having his birthday.
I will go for Ashley.
Okay.
That's exactly what I wrote.
Oh, I can't win now.
Oh, I can't. Because it is Ashley. So Liam has won. Liam has won. There we go. But as always, tiebreaker. Liam,
Go on.
what are you doing?
Got to do it.
He's got to gamble. He's got to gamble. Now, ignore all those players because this weekend will be, or would have been, So by Robson's 90th birthday, of course. Now, how many games did Town win under Sir Bobby in 709 games? I've probably done this question on a strike multiple times, but it's lazy, I know. But it's just a nice, good tiebreaker question. So whoever gets closest, I know. Actually, Bloomers, you got to get bang on to win, actually, not the closest. But you never know. You never know.
All right. I'm going to go for 389.
389, okay.
Oh, I think I've gone way too high.
I went for 476.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, Liam's gone very high. 709 games, Liam. I know we won the FA Cup, the UEFA Cup. We did really well in the first division, finishing second, third, and all that. But it was 220 defeats, 173 draws, and 316 wins. So yeah, we're close-ish. You're closer than Liam. But Liam has won the strike once again. He's surprising us all. Quick speech, my friend. Well done.
Yeah, I literally don't learn any of these. This is pure just.
No, you don't learn them because you read them off the screen behind you.
Yeah. I like it. But what? Yeah, getting the guessing, knowing about Lee Martin and Carlo Wood's squad number and all that. But I hope everybody, of course, were playing at home. Hope you got on really well. I know there's a few out there who always tell me their answers, how they got on. So there we go. Now strike in the bag. Well, the boys, Forest Green this weekend, but we've got 15 big games to go in League One. The run-in is looking very interesting. On paper, it's pretty good in terms of fixtures. Definitely at home. I'm going to bring up the next 15 on the screen. So we've got Forest Green at home, MK Dons away. Then we've got another home game. Sorry, I can't actually find. I'm trying to find it again. Because we've got Burton at home, Accrington at home, Bolton away, Shrewsbury at home, Barnsley away, Derby away, Wickham at home, Cheltenham away, Charlton at home, but Port Vale at home, Peterborough away, Exeter at home. And on the final day on the beach at Fleetwood, where will we be? 14 points up for grabs. Bloomers.
How many?
What do you reckon then? 45 points.
15 games left, 45 points.
Yeah.
If we got 30 points, okay, so 30 points between now and the end of the season, so averaging 2 points a game, we'd have to rely on Plymouth Argyle getting 20 points in those same number of games in order to catch them. That's 20 points from 15 games. That just shows you how much we've balls that up. Just to give you an idea. Do I think Plymouth are going to get 20 points from 15 games? No, they're going to get more than that. And that's not even me looking at what their run is. I think 25 points is achievable, which would give us 82, which at the start of the season would it would nail you on for a playoff place. And I think it would give us a playoff place. And I think it's exactly what's going to happen. I think anything less than 20 could lead to McKenna going at the end of the season. If I'm being brutally honest, at some point. from 20 to 25 is not very good. 25 is okay. Yeah, it's probably it is okay. 30 plus should be. Hang on, Liam, can you just mute your mic? I think you're interfering. 30. There we go. 30 or more is the aim. Anything north of 30, and I think actually we'd feel pretty good going into playoffs. So you need to get back on that ladder of 2 points a game. We're not going to average 2 points a game between now and the end of the season. And actually, as it turns out, probably not going to be enough to get the top 2 anyways, because it's a freak year. But if we do get 2 points a game between now and the end of the season, we're going to feel a hell of a lot better going into the playoffs. So that's the target for me. Don't give me or ask for me a breakdown of every single game.
No, we won't do that. We'll be here all bloody evening. We don't need
we'll
that.
We'll be here until midnight. But I'll say 25.
Okay.
That's the minimum that we should be aiming for. But 30 would be preferable, obviously.
Okay, definitely. Well, Liam, we haven't actually won back-to-back games since October. So hopefully we can do that in the next 2 games. We've got Forest Green MK Dons. So they're not doing very well. So that is hopefully back-to-back games sorted there. But what's your feelings on the run-in?
Well, I think you've got to look at this next 4 and you've got to conceivably say we've got to win all 4. I mean, Forest Green come to Portman Road. You've got to win that. They're bottom of the table. You've got to win that. MK Dons away, backed by pretty much half the stadium, because don't tell me there's going to be more MK Dons fans in that ground than Town fans. And they're struggling. And then obviously Burton and Accrington both in and around the drop zone as well. You've got to win them, because for me, that next 5 is fearsome. I mean, you've got Bolton, who are flying, who have just won back-to-back games 5-0. You've got Shrewsbury, who are the dark horses here. They're not far outside the playoffs at the moment, and they're just loitering, waiting. They're not going to be easy at Portman Road. And then you've got 2 huge back-to-back games with Barnsley and Derby. And if Town have come off the back of that, not brilliant, then the team who currently sits 7th and the team that we're all kind of suddenly turned our attention to, Wycombe, come to Portman Road. And suddenly, I mean, that could be huge in April. So that's a very tricky run. And then after that, it opens itself up a bit again to some winnable games against lower mid-table teams, where you think you can get a load of points. But for me, it's what Bloom has said. It's all well and good getting enough points to keep us in the playoffs, but we need to accumulate and create momentum at the same time if we're going to be effective in the playoffs. It's all well and good just getting in there, but if we're just scraping in there by the end of the season, it doesn't bode well for us to do much in the playoffs. And from everything that we've spoken about so far in terms of mentality and stuff, if we haven't really got any momentum going in there, then I can't see our mentality dragging us through, which is just like, so yeah, I agree with Bloomers. But if you look at it, I mean, if you win the next 4, that's 12. And then there's enough wins in the back end. I mean, you've got Cheltenham, got Charlton, Port Vale. You'd expect to win, especially the 2 home games, Cheltenham away, and then the last 2 Exeter, Fleetwood. And I mean, Peterborough have been underwhelming. Why not go to Peterborough and win? So 30 points is certainly obtainable if you win a couple of those games in that 5-game run that I've just spoken about. But yeah, it's I think it's going to be a bit squeaky bum time, unfortunately, for all the wrong reasons. We thought it was going to be a great run in to see if we could sneak into the automatics and get out and go to the last day. Well, it's looking at the moment like it's going to be seeing if we can keep 7th away from us at the moment, because unless we win these next 4, and as you say, we haven't won back-to-back games since October. And you've got Shrewsbury and
Good.
Wickham, who are both won 4 games in a row and are outside the playoffs right now. Why can't we win the next 4 games? That would be my question. But clearly, there's a high chance we probably won't win the next 4 games. In fact, they'll probably all be 0-0. So
hopefully not, my friend. Hopefully
no.
not. So that is the run-in. Of course, Forest Green Rovers this weekend. Big Duncan Ferguson in charge of Forest Green. Got to have a little pause here because we've got a little clip from good old Matt Macon to plug Turnstile Blues. They're going to be selling on the game at Portland Road. So a little clip here from him.
Hello Ross, hello Kings, hope you're well and recovered from last night's showing against the Gas. Just wanted to come on quickly to talk about the new edition of Turnstile Blues, number 27, that's coming up before the Forest Green Rovers game this Saturday. It's the usual eclectic mix of irrelevant nonsense and insightful pieces you've come to expect from us. We've taken a look, kind of a bit sideways look at the farce that was the second half against Oxford away last month. We've taken a review of Kieran McKenna's work in the transfer market so far. We've also had a look at how the Ipswich Town women's team are getting on in their second season at the 3rd tier and the scrap that there is to get that one promotion spot that's available to the 2 regional divisions at this level. We've also had a bit of an in-depth look at how fan culture has changed in recent decades. The impact of the late John Duncan and his time at Town. And we've also got a guest piece from a friend of ours who's a Baggies fan and what's been going on and not been going so well at West Bromwich Albion recently. All of this still just £1. So come look for us before the Forest Green game. We'll be around from about 1:30 outside the ground near the statues of Sir Alf, Sir Bobby, outside the entrance to the fan zone. We'll have a few roving sellers walking around. And yeah, hopefully we'll see you there and you'll come and pick up a copy of Turnstile Blues.
Okay, we're back. Good old Matt Macon there. Only £1 for a Turnstile Blues, so a lot of great content in there. But boys, Forest Green Rovers, their first ever trip to Portman Road. Thoughts, feeling, hot takes. Bloomers, take it away.
I mean, I've jokingly in our prediction league put 1-1, but that's only because I can't, in all good conscience, just give a win to Ipswich for anything these days. There has been 101 of these games in League One, I swear, like in the 4 years we've been here. I just win the damn game. Win the damn game. They haven't had a new manager bounce. I don't know if Duncan Ferguson's any good as a manager or not. I don't think these 15 games are going to really prove a lot because Forest Green just simply don't seem to have enough quality in their squad to survive League One. But I'm full of admiration for them getting here and for their ethos as a club. Just win the damn game, Ipswich. Like, I don't care if they set up however way. That's my fiance asking me if I want dinner. If you're wondering what that noise was, which will be soon. Yeah, just win the damn game. Don't care how they set up. I don't care if they set up in a low block. Just have the firepower to do better. There's going to be no massive away end, I assume. There might be 2,500 Forest Green fans coming down. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think there's going to be. Well, there'll be 20,000 plus in the stadium, but that'll be announced as 20,000 plus. I'm not sure if it actually will be. Probably will be, but certainly there'll be an atmosphere like the Plymouth and Plymouth and Sheffield Wednesday games. And there will certainly be a bad atmosphere if we go 25 minutes into the game and we're not a goal up. And I won't be there. I'll be watching it with good old James F, who is graciously flying us, to I think it's the UAE. So we can watch the game on Saturday. So that'll be nice. But yeah, just in conclusion, and I said it 3 times already, win the damn game.
Yeah, got to win. I hate to use the word must win because it is bloody a must win. Liam, any hot takes from you, my friend? I think when I was doing the pod plan, you sort of smiled and went, so anything you got for us?
Well, I mean, from the absurd and outrageous, hot take is Big Dunk somehow manages to find himself in the box in the last minute, run onto the pitch. No one's noticed. He's headbutted Walton and Forest Green have scored the last minute winner.
crazy.
And
things happen.
no one notices Big Dunk has somehow managed to get on the pitch as the manager and then headbutt someone. So that's my absurd hot take, which won't happen in a month of Sundays, but it would be very funny if it did. Although not very funny, obviously, as losing the game in that sort
and
of
what I'm getting headbutted. Yeah.
circumstance, but it would be funny in a way with what Big Dunk has done in the past. So I wouldn't.
It's gonna be great to see,
him.
though, isn't it? It's gonna be great to see like a Premier League icon. You've seen that regularly now, aren't you? Seeing just former players of the past in the Premier League now in the dugout in League One, in the Championship, League
I'm
Two.
trying to work out whether I saw him play for Everton against us when we were in the Premier League. I'll have to look at the old.
He would have played. Yeah, he would have played against us.
He would have been at Everton.
He would have been an active player, and I believe it was
Yeah.
for Everton at the time. But I'm not quite sure if he played in those games. But yeah, I mean, I've seen enough of Premier League years to know how good Duncan Ferguson was, and how he's certainly not a character to be troubled with. I mean, our expert Scottish football correspondent on this podcast can tell us a bit more about him and his exploits north of the border.
Yeah, I still remember the story of him when he was at Rangers, and in his home, and someone tried to burgle him, and he basically just completely destroyed the burglar, and I think ended up himself getting done for assault. It's just typical Duncan Ferguson. He was a bit of a nutter. He also got sent off playing for Rangers and actually did headbutt someone. I think it might have been against Rovers, if I'm right, in the 90s. And I think actually that headbutt, I think he
Went to prison.
Yes.
He actually went to prison because of it. Yep. First player in British football history to be convicted of an on-field offence.
It was actually deemed as being, obviously, things happen in football, and players get away with a lot of stuff that you probably wouldn't get away with in society. But Big Dunk didn't on this occasion. He ended up with a little stretch in the clink.
Yeah, but Liam, Forest Green Rovers, we've got to win, haven't we? What's your thoughts on the team actually, quickly, before we end the podcast? Ladapo's got to start, surely, and who else is coming in? Connor Chaplin's got to start. I don't know why he didn't start against Bristol Rovers. He's our top goal scorer, Connor Chaplin, and he had to come off the bench. He's got to
start with the best team. He's got to start with the best team who are going to win. So, I mean, the midfield picks itself, and that's another issue. We don't have any depth there, and I think Morsey is struggling at the moment. I think he's feeling the pressure because he hasn't got Evans alongside him to take some of the burden away from him. And clearly his levels have dipped. You can't blame Cameron Humphreys. He's a young lad who is brilliant, but he's going to have moments where he dips. But it is what it is. We're going to have to deal with that. The back four, which one off a rank do you want to pick this week? The two fullbacks should be Clark and Davis. And then it's a matter of who's fit at centre half. But I mean, you're looking at. I mean, you have to play Wolfenden for me against these sort of sides where you do have a low block. You've got to have a ball playing centre half. Can't have like a combination of Burgess and Keogh, who are two old fashioned kind of let's have it centre halves. But I don't know who plays alongside him. It depends, I think, if Edmondson's fit or not. It probably will be Burgess again if that's the case. But it's the front four. That's where Ladapo has to start. For me, he, as I said earlier, he doesn't make an impact off the bench. His best work is starting games and being effective and scoring goals. You've got to play Broadhead. I mean, that's another issue. If he's not fully fit, then you spent a lot of money on him for someone who isn't properly fully fit. It's a bit of a concern, I guess. But he has to start. You've got to play Chaplin. He scored all the goals. So then it's just a question mark of who plays the other side. And I mean, I'd give Jackson a go. To be fair, I think he's earned enough and has improved enough to be given a bit of a run. But for me, whoever gets picked, this team, whoever it is, should be good enough to beat Forest Green. There are no excuses this weekend, absolutely none. And if it's not a result that ends up with Town with 3 points, then it's just an absolute. We may as well just give up now. Then we may as well just say that's it. Let's go home. Nothing to see here. It's all done. I'm not being disrespectful to Forest Green, but they are bottom of the league, and we're at home.
That's it. Stop there. There. That's it. It's all you need to say.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
But my issue is we might win 3-0. I put 3-0 down because I think we will potentially win this quite comfortably and be another kind of Cambridge or Morecambe. But my issue is, even if we win this game quite comfortably by 3 or 4, are we going to back that up next week? And that's the killer question, because we beat Morecambe 4-0 and then we didn't go and beat Cambridge.
Yeah, well, let's cross that bridge when we come to it. Win this game.
Definitely. Well, boys, it's been a pleasure. Some ups and downs on this podcast, roller coaster supporting this football club, but hope everyone has enjoyed listening. Any other business from yourself, Bloomers? Anything else you want to mention?
No, for once. I clearly live a boring life. I'm off to go on Amazon and Google desks to buy, because I'm amazed this one's lasted this long, and it's probably going to collapse as soon as this pod ends. The blinds look nice, eh? So that's good.
Looks good on you. It looks good. If you're watching video, of course, you can see Bloomers in HD and
a nice illuminated room here. Yeah.
Yes, I like it. You got a background. The lighting is always the key. And Liam, over to you, my friend. Any other business?
No, not really. That's it, really.
That's it.
What about you, Ross?
Well, I've got to do the plugs, and I got to plug. Of course, follow Bloomers and Liam on Twitter. Of course, follow us on all the socials: Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Of course, subscribe if you haven't already. Give us a like, comment, and all that jazz. And of course, subscribe to us on all your platforms, podcast platforms, so you get this in your feed straight away. And leave us a review. Just your thoughts and feelings on us as a podcast. Thanks again for listening. Kings of Anglia, Manscaped, Ginger Pickle, bring it on. Town, just bloody win on Saturday. Bye-bye for now.